I'm Mark Caro, and welcome to episode 228 of Caropop. If you'd like to throw us some support and help keep this thing going, please go to caropop.com. Our guest this week is one of those rockers who, if you know him, you love him, and if you don't know him, you should. Ike Reilly. After decades of making music and writing timeless songs such as Put a Little Love in It and Born on Fire, the singer-songwriter is hitting critical mass. Reilly has turned music into the family business as his three sons tour and record with him and his longtime band, the Ike Reilly Assassination. They're playing to more people than ever, and Reilly's new album, Blind and Surrounded, out June 12th, features his oldest son, Shane Reilly. Ike Reilly also is attracting new fans through the 2024 documentary, Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, which asks the eternal question, why isn't this guy more famous? He's got a monthly Sirius XM show, Ike Reilly's Lies and Apologies, on the Spectrum channel. It also can be heard on the Sirius XM app, and on January 30th, he shared a microphone with Bruce Springsteen as they sang Power to the People at First Avenue in Minneapolis, alongside Reilly's friend and fellow politically active musician, Tom Morello. For this conversation, Reilly and I met in the house he rents as his music studio and writing and rehearsal space in his hometown of Libertyville, Illinois, a far north Chicago suburb. He grew up there, as did Morello, a previous Caropop guest. Reilly tells of his connection to Morello and the guitarist's mother, Mary. He also shares tales about other old friends, including Chris Farley, Joel Murray, and previous Caropop guest, David Pasquesi. And he reflects on the recently departed artist Tony Fitzpatrick, former bandmate Mars Williams, and WXRT DJ and Reilly superfan Lynn Bramer. I first got to know Reilly and his music back when he was in the Chicago Irish group The Drovers, and then fronting his own band, Community Number 9. I profiled the latter for the Chicago Tribune's Local Heroes column in December 1990. Reilly was intrigued to hear how what he said more than 35 years ago has held up. Has his stated philosophy changed much since then? He also talks about his longtime friendship with Cracker's David Lowery and Johnny Hickman, also both former Caropop guests, and how Cracker came to cover one of his songs. Reilly shares the advice that Lowery gave him about the music business as well. Reilly tells the stories behind other songs too, including Bolt Cutter and the wise, wistful Gone for Forever, which Shane wrote for the new album. Do his sons relate to him differently as a band leader than as a father? And Reilly, who also worked as a gravedigger, discusses his years as a doorman at the fancy Park Hyatt Hotel on Chicago's Magnificent Mile. Not only was he honored as Employee of the Year, but he also was stiffed by a guest who eventually became President of the United States. See if you can guess which one before he tells this very amusing story. Reilly is, after all, one of our most gifted musical storytellers, and it's a pleasure to have him here. Please enjoy this Caropop conversation with Ike Reilly. So David Pasquesi, who is a former Caropop guest, who, as I mentioned, was one of 5 Caropop guests who were in the documentary about you that I just watched. You've known Pasquesi for a long time.
Yeah, I met Dave. We were both going to school in Rome, and he lived directly across the hall from me with Joel Murray, Bill's brother. Joel's a great actor, and
Sure.
So we met, we killed some time over there, then I didn't really hear from him, although we grew up 5 miles from each other. Then when Chris Farley moved to Chicago, and Chris was my college teammate and friend at Marquette, Chris told
Teammate in...
We played rugby together.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I bet he would have been a good person to help be on your team.
Well, that's a debatable issue. He was he was who he was. Like, he walked in as a freshman, I was a junior. I was like, who is this human being? But he came to Chicago and said, hey, he was at the Improv Olympic, and then he auditioned for Second City, and he said he was opening a show, their show, I forget what it was called. They all have those names.
Right.
And I went to the gig, and on stage was Joel Murray and Dave Pasquesi with Chris. I was like, hell, I'm as funny as these 3 guys. I couldn't believe it, though, because I didn't know, I knew Dave and Joel from an entirely different world than Chris. And I've been friends with Dave ever since.
Yeah. So did you have a moment where you thought, wait, why am I not in improv?
No, I didn't. I'm just, arrogant in my own head. No.
Well, you sing, I'm funny, so
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, I'm funny,
Although Second City's not about being funny, it's about being true to the character and finding the humor in it. It's not about being funny.
I've done a lot of work, at the Improv Olympic with Dave and TJ, and then I hosted a couple shows there. But I'm not an improvisational actor. I'm just.
I grew up here too, and I used to go to Second City, and I remember Pasquesi in Second City, and he was a standout in that. And I remember Chris Farley also. He had this one thing. He was like. He'd one sketch, I think it was like Whale Boy or something, and he had like water squirting out of his forehead or something.
Yeah.
I just remember it was one of the funniest things. Like,
well, Chris had, incredible charisma, and he's so physical and over the top. But he was also more, ethereal than I think people give him credit for. I mean, he the big question mark was, would he have evolved into a better actor? He was supposed to be in the Fatty Arbuckle film that David Mamet wrote,
right,
and that would have been pretty. It would have been interesting, But he also, like, if you told me when we were 23 that I'd be in my 60s and Chris would be dead for 30 years, I would have believed you.
It's such a sad story. I remember reading the oral history about him too, and it just sort of seemed like they were just. But it just goes to show you have to do the work yourself, and it just seemed like there were a lot of warning signs, and he just
It was he tried.
Yeah.
But you throw fame and money into it, and the need to be loved and laughed at, and it's a deadly combination if you're an addict.
Right. But you know what? It's like you look back and his stuff lasts. There's some people who sort of disappear, but he had such a big heart, and was that there's like this sweetness, and I don't know. It's hard to be earnest in comedy and still be funny, and he like really sort of managed it.
My grandchildren know who he is, and it's not because I've told them that I'm friends with him. It's insane. I've heard really accomplished comedians say he's the funniest person they've ever seen. So,
yeah,
but it's subjective.
Well, since we're starting out on this melancholy note, I'll just fast forward. I was watching the documentary about you that was from 24, so now we're in 26. But Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, and there are there are these people in it who just aren't with us anymore, like Lynn Bramer from XRT, who is a big supporter and my wife's longtime partner on the air. Mary remembers you playing at, I think it was one of Lynn's anniversary shows at a Rosemont bowling alley. So that was one of the
I actually, that was around the first travel ban that Donald Trump put in. And I wrote a song called Bolt Cutter.
Right.
And I lied to Lynn and told him that I was writing it on the spot, because I did have a little spot in there with the D. It was, I think.
Right, there's a DJ in there.
And I think on the performance I said, my best friend in the world, I threw that in there. But that song has, it was premiered in Rolling Stone, which I haven't had a lot of action in Rolling Stone. And it was a strange thing. I was working on the song right when I got invited to surprise Lynn at that bowling alley.
Right.
But that song is still a song that I'm playing again all the time.
So was he the DJ you had in mind?
Oh yeah, I told him. The story is, it's a narrative in the first person about a guy, freeing his family from being shackled at the carousel in O'Hare, and I use
so far-fetched.
Yeah, I know.
That was during the first administration,
and they
too.
were. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But so I was like, Lynn knew I was bullshitting him, but but Michael McDermott did, and I said, hey, I'm making this up, and he's like, did you just make that up? Well, a couple days ago, but
yeah, but and then the doc also is Tony Fitzpatrick, who brilliant Chicago artist who left us recently, also with like a lot of ties with a lot of musicians. as well. I mean, I remember the day after he died, I saw the band The Third Mind, which is Dave Alvin and Victor Krummenacher, and Victor was like, yeah, he did our first album cover. I'm like, oh man, that's right. So
yeah, he's done mine. I mean, my son Kevin worked for him. Got to be close with the family, but Tony and I did not meet until he approached me in like 2017 for the first time, and we became really, really pretty close the last, I guess, 7 years of his life.
Yeah, I regret not having spent more time getting to know him, because we knew each other, but not like, I didn't know him the way like a lot of people did, and especially when you see all the appreciations, and just his art is so fantastic.
Oh, his art's great. He's a handful, man. He was, the stories my son used to call me from work. I said, what are you going to work at Tony's today? Yeah. I go, what are you doing? He wants me to walk him. And then we're going to sit in front of the studio and say hello to dogs. I said, that's what you're doing today? Because that's what he's paying me for. So,
well, there you go.
But he loved Tony.
And then Mars Williams is in there too, saxophone,
Mars,
multi-talented guy, was in one of your early bands.
We were really good friends. He played with me on and off, but we were pretty good, really good friends. He was a funny guy, super talented. But again, all these guys you're mentioning, Lynn, Tony, Mars, they're all like funny dudes, and also sharp-witted and in-tuned and high emotional intelligence, and they all, well, Mars was clean when he died. Tony was always clean. He just drank a lot and tried to quit, and I remember he telling me, I'm not drinking anymore. Then we'd have a show at St. Patrick's Day. I'm like, pretty sure you're drinking.
I mean, and Lynn just loved life. When I met Mary, actually, I was doing a magazine story for the Tribune, and I took him to Heaven on 7 so I could interview him for the story I was doing. It was a magazine story for the Tribune about 25th anniversary of XRT, since hit its 50th. And Lynn just ordered 2 entrees, and I'm just like, all right. It was just like, because he wanted this one and he wanted that one, and I'm like, what? And I was just like, wow, I'm impressed, because it was like, it didn't look like there was anywhere for it to go, but he was, he just enjoyed life, and that was infectious.
Yeah, he was, he was who he was, and he was, I miss he and your wife, together.
It was sad that got broken up, that's for sure. So
it was, so that was such a part of a certain generation of people's lives, and it was great, and she's great. And
Thank you.
They were great together.
Well, I agree.
But her voice is so, when I hear it, it's maybe not to be married to her, very comforting.
No, I agree. I was a fan before I met her, and turned out that she liked my sarcastic movie reviews, so that worked out all right. But yeah, no, it's fun to hear her coming out of the radio, and then at home too. So there you go.
Well, good.
I'm going to go back to the Mars thing in a second, but you have a new album, Blind and Surrounded.
Yep.
And it's Ike Reilly featuring Shane Reilly. That's your oldest son, right?
It is my oldest son.
And the last song on there is called Gone for Forever. We're hitting all the mortality stuff right at the beginning of this conversation. But that's it just in line with what we're talking about. It's just this really reflective, beautiful song about we're only on this planet for a short period of time. Are the losses like the ones we're talking about? Is that what inspired the song?
Well, he, when you meet him, he's a very hopeful person. But that song that he wrote, that song, I think it is a beautiful, super sad song.
So Shane wrote it.
Shane wrote it.
I did not realize that.
Any song that he sings, he wrote on this album.
Okay.
Which is, and he's a great songwriter.
Cool.
And that song, when he played it for me, I was, so we're in my little studio in Libertyville. This is where we work. He comes here for his songs, and he starts playing them for me, and then I try to get a great acoustic version of it, and then I produce it with the band, and he'll come back. But so many times, I really have been able to divorce myself from the fact that I'm his father when we're working together. I don't view it that way at all. I don't also edit him, or he's come into his own, and he's always been reflective, but that song is really a strange combination of melancholy and hope. It's got kind of a 50s vibe,
right?
But I think he's dealt with loss too. I mean, Shane knew Tony, Shane knew Mars, Shane knows all these older musicians, and his songs about death have a lot more hope than my songs about death.
There you go. He's inherited the death song gene from you, but he puts a little spin on it.
Yeah, he makes you feel good about it.
Yeah, your death songs are less hopeful. But you see, and I listened to it and I thought, I just assumed you wrote it because I didn't have credits, but also because it's such a sort of reflective song to end the album, and I thought, well, this is kind of you looking at the stuff because you're surrounded by so much. I mean, look, we're surrounded by mortality all the time, including at younger ages too. But it's interesting that he wrote that, kind of having experienced all of this and seen things in the older generation and younger generations.
I don't know if this is true about that song, but I feel like he wrote it to his wife, like as a encouraging dirge or whatever to get through the day, because that's what I think. I don't know that to be true, but there are a few lines in there that are going outward.
So you've three sons, all of whom played with you last time I saw you on stage. David Lowery in this documentary talks about how impressed he is that you've made this your family business. Did you set out to do that? And also I would like notes from you, the trick on how do you get your younger generation to be into the music that you're into without being like, Dad?
We never forced anything. That was the main thing. I mean, I would have dissuaded them from pursuing this. It's a difficult career, and it's so many people come up to me in town here in Libertyville, and like, my son's a talented this, a talented that. My daughter, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I mean, the only reason you do it is because you have to do it.
Right.
It's as a writer, I don't know about virtuoso musicians. I'm surrounded by them. I'm not one of them, but our kids were, I think, by osmosis. We had the studio on the outside of town, and there were a lot of people coming in and out of there, like people you've mentioned, like Cracker and Morello and all the local musicians. And, I would record their music and they would play on my stuff. We had, a lot of people staying at our place out there that I think influenced my kids. And while, my kids will listen to, Chance the Rapper and Kanye, just like that whole generation, they weren't put off by music that was, lyrical and narrative.
Right.
And, I blasted The Clash, and Dylan was always playing, and so I never said you have to like anything, but then I started hearing what they were playing on their own. Mickey, my youngest kid, was playing No Expectations by the Stones when he was like 8.
Like singing it himself?
And play, yeah.
And playing it on guitar.
Yeah, he's, and I'd hear this take me to the station.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And that's not even an album I played that much. I mean, I know it, but what really locked it in was the pandemic. We were holed up, and we had moved from one house, a house we lived in for 20 years, to a really small house, and I had like these 3. I mean, they were all teenagers and in their 20s at that point, and we just started jamming together. And then we said, let's do a live stream, and then we recorded a couple songs that came out on an album, and then I took them out on tour in 21, 23, and
right.
We just did 23 dates with all of them again. So
is the Ike Reilly Assassination plus?
It is, yeah. That's how we've been touring.
Yeah, that was the way I saw it as well.
And so that has been I don't take it for granted. It's a riot, and my band has known these guys since they were pretty much born. And I've been with the same band for 26 years.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that they're able to relate to you as a band leader as well as your father, because you're not necessarily the same guy in each of those roles.
No, they think I'm a dick in both roles, I think, sometimes. but no, I mean, when we're playing music, it's great. You know, our band, we have somebody in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in our band. I don't feel like a dad too much with those guys on the road. First of all, I have no control of what they do. We'll come to a hotel at 2 a.m. and the two younger guys are like, we're going out. I go, where are you going out? We're in Dubuque.
Right.
You know, it's 2 a.m. Don't worry about it. You know, so, but it's been, you know, like I drive our tour bus. And so like people will leave a club and there'll be people looking at it and they think it's a gag, like, oh, that's cute, he's pretending to drive. I'm like, yeah, fuck, I'm driving.
Yeah, no.
But
it's like the modern day Partridge Family. You need the sort of multicolored checkerboard thing on the side.
It's kind of like that, but I don't take it for granted to be, you know, making music and still spending time with your kids, and they have their own things going on. Mickey was a pro soccer player last year. He got drafted, or he got signed after he got out of college. He played for a year, then he's out of contract now. So he didn't tour with us last year, but he's around now. He wants to be a coach, but he's also, you know, a great singer. And, you know, so I like it because I didn't write the song Shane sings on this album, but I do have their voices as instruments now, which is cool for me.
Do you guys write together at all?
Not much. We will, if I write something, we'll come up and we'll maybe hammer out some vocal parts. But Shane writes on his own, and those guys are just, I don't know if they're going to be writers or not, Kevin and Mick, I don't know yet.
So those two haven't written songs yet?
They have nothing that they've said, here, we should try this.
Nothing saying, hey, let's put this in the set?
Yeah.
What was the first song Shane came to you and said, hey, I wrote a song, I want us to perform it?
He's never said that I wanted to perform it. He said I wrote these songs, and he has a song called Who's Been Hurtin', which is the next single coming out in May 8th. And it resonated with tons of people, and we were doing it on the live stream. So I wanted that to be in the set because our set is, it's almost like a punk folk rock revival in a way, you know. We come out, all 8 of us, the boys, we do a bunch of call and response, kind of upbeat stuff.
Right.
Then the boys split, and then we kind of play more of a pretty hard rock and roll section of the song. Then Kevin and I do a duet together of a song my dad wrote in 1949.
Wow.
And it's just...
You got the 3 generations going there.
Yeah, he's long gone, but...
Yeah, but still.
And it's a song that is about his girlfriend cheating on him with Satan. And the girlfriend...
I hate it when that happens.
The girlfriend is my mom. And so we always make a joke. I'm like, yeah, this is a song about my mom screwing the devil, and I think her grandson should come out and help me sing it. So
does that make you the devil's spawn then?
Yes. I don't think he impregnated my mom.
Oh, that's good.
And then Mickey comes out and sings, one of my songs, or he'll do a cover, and then we'll do our last single, Bad Bad Man, is Shane's song. And so to answer your question, Shane didn't say I'd like this to be in a set, but when the songs are so good and they break up our set with a different voice, and
right.
It's pretty cool.
And you still think in terms of singles, like it's sort of like, here's the song that we're releasing, because the album's coming out in June, so you sort of space out to promote it. They're like, all right, so we have this song, and then we have this song and this song.
Mark,
you don't have like little 7 inches that you're going down to the turnstile to pick up or something.
I have such poor business sense, and I'm taking a back seat now to what these guys are suggesting. We are releasing singles as part of some promotional plan that I don't understand.
Is that something that you can then download, or you could just stream it at that point?
I think you'll be able to, when they're out, you can buy them or stream them. You can download them. They're available on every streaming and downloadable service.
Do you talk with David Lowery about like all the whole business side of it?
David Lowery has told me this is the advice he gave me, and my relationship with Dave and Johnny is hilarious. I've been in a room with both those guys where I'm the only guy talking. Like I don't know. Their relationship is insane. I love them both. But here's what David said.
Wait, so why are you the only guy talking in the room?
Well, I'm the only guy talking. I'm talking to each guy separately.
And they're not talking to each other.
I'm not. I haven't seen it lately. But they're a great team.
Sure.
He's a riff master, and he's so funny. David is, if you would have told me, like I was listening to Cracker, I think maybe, or Camper before I could play guitar, maybe. I don't know when they started.
85 was the first album.
For Camper?
Yeah. So
I was just starting to dick around, and I would hear them on XRT. And it was so weird when I got a record deal. This A&R guy said, "Hey, we're thinking about having David Lowery produce your first record." The truth of the matter was, Ed Tinley, my musical producer, we didn't really need any help. But they sent me to New York to meet David, and he and I got really fucked up. And we went into this rehearsal space in Midtown, I think, and he had his famous electric guitar that I've seen, and I had my acoustic. I played him some songs, we laughed, and I gave him a cassette of some demos, and then we went out and drank like fiends, and then he ended up not producing the record. A couple years went by, I get a call that they are recording a demo of my song Duty Free, and for their album Countrysides.
Right.
And it kind of freaked me out, because I'm such a fan of David's voice, Johnny's riffs, Camper, Cracker. I was like, man. So I remember the disc came to my house in Libertyville, and I for some reason I don't know when it came out, but I remember listening to it on the 4th of July. I was like, this is the coolest thing that could ever happen.
Nice.
And they took my song, and it's really a personal song about real friends of mine, Frank Quinn, who was in the band the Muck Brothers, and Jack Graham is my lifelong friend, and Liam Moore and I were in the Drovers together. So there's all these little verses about coming and going from America. I didn't realize that each chorus starts with one is, do you need anything from Duty Free? One is, will you need anything from Duty Free? And when I wrote it, it made sense, but I never remembered it. Whenever I play that song with Lowery, I always fuck up the do's and the wills, and he gives me the dirtiest looks ever. He's he's exasperated.
Come on, man, it's your song.
I was like, I didn't even know that there was a difference, That was great, though. And I love that version. It's called Duty Free, and Cracker does it. My demo is also on an album called Poison the Hit Parade, which it was a demo of the song that ended up being more of a rock and roll version on my first album.
Right. Well, David's whole thing now is that he thinks that music has to be like movies where, instead of having the theatrical window, you have the physical window where, the record comes out or the CD comes out, and he likes CDs more than vinyl anyway. CD comes out and there's like a window, and then it shows up on the streaming services. I mean, obviously that hasn't happened. That's not what the expectation is. But as someone who's actually a professor of music economics down at University of Georgia, that's his take on it. But I don't know whether he's had any, advice that's helped out.
I didn't answer your question. Here's what he told me. He said, whatever you do, look at it as how much money you can make per hour. So, because I was like, what do you do? What do you sell? He goes, just, if it makes sense for you to be wrapping up vinyl and selling it, and you're ending up making X amount of dollars an hour, if it makes sense to tour by yourself, if it makes sense to give a song licensing to somebody. So that, I think that is a valuable piece of advice, but that doesn't help. There's some things you have to do to grow your audience, and
sure.
And I think my brain trust now is helping me do that. I mean, we have the biggest audience we've ever had right now. Not that it's big, but it's, bigger than ever.
That's great.
Yeah.
And now, do you attribute that to the live stream? Do you attribute that to just sort of critical mass because you've been around for a while writing so many great songs? Did the doc help?
The doc helped, for sure. I think it's a war of attrition. I've been, I'm putting out good albums, and our live shows are really, they're great. I'm proud of the show. Like, people, we don't really have passive fans, I wish we had more, but people seem to be moved by it, and they're really moved. They seem to be moved. They were always moved by the band, but I think the family angle is interesting for people to see, because I think they see joy, and I think they see that it's possible to create with the people you are related to.
So this multi-generational approach for you has sort of expanded the tent in a way.
I think so. I don't know if it'll last forever. I don't know what's gonna, but I think our crowds are a lot younger, and I don't think it's because of me.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Tweedy's out playing with his kids and the people they grew up with.
Well,
too,
he needs the money.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I think he's following in your coattails, actually.
I don't know much about him. I'm not. That's one of the drawbacks. I wish I was more connected to other musicians, but I'm really not. I mean, in Chicago, I know a lot of musicians. We're very insular. Is that the right word? Insular?
Sure.
In our approach to music, and with my band. I mean, my band is incredible, and I'm really fortunate. That's my biggest achievement, has been able to keep a band together.
Keeping a band together, and then keeping family in the band together, like that's tricky. It's a lot of people.
It is.
And a lot of different history with you. We
roll with 10 people on the road, and but being on the road is like a suspension of time. And like, we went out on the road right when Trump started bombing Iran, and I have to say, we were so busy I couldn't fixate on it much. We had a gig every day, and some days 2 gigs with performances during the day. And so when you're on the road, reality slips away. I mean, you're every night's like a wedding, or a show. You gotta entertain. And the point I'm trying to make is, you don't really have time to ruin relationships on the road because you're just too busy.
Well, but people trapped on a bus together for hours and hours and hours, in some cases, could be a recipe for getting on each other's nerves.
We have a blast.
Is there like music playing over like the tape deck and the old bus, or does everyone have their earbuds in?
We go both ways. We during the day it's pretty quiet, and then we drive a couple hours almost every night after the show, and those times are my favorite times. Everybody's drinking and smoking and listening to music loud, and it's funny. And
who's in charge of the playlist?
Now that can cause some problems. I'm definitely not, because I'm driving. Dave, my drummer, Dave Cotini, sometimes does it, and he sometimes hits it out of the park, and other times he gets the big hook. But we go.
What gets the hook? What does he play?
He'll go a little metal once in a while.
Okay.
But he also plays like really cool, like I don't know who they are, but it's like instrumental organ lounge music. It's kind of hip, and but then a lot of Jamaican influenced music. My boys love that stuff. So, but we'll go full rockabilly. There's usually a theme
for each night.
Yeah, not just based on nothing.
Do you like going out on these tours? Is that like you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing? I
love being on the road.
And not just the performing part of it, but the whole package.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I know, of course I miss my home life, but yeah, I love truck stops. I love the highway. I love little towns. I love rolling into New York. I love everything about it. And mostly, I like to meet people, regular people that come to the shows and 10 bar and cash you out at the Quick Trip in Wisconsin or wherever, I mean, that's what I loved about my hotel job too,
Is being on stage, is that like sort of the pinnacle of what you do, in terms of what makes you happy?
Not necessarily. I think writing the songs is that's the most satisfying and cathartic for me. I like being on stage, but I don't, where else in life can you have a shared knowledge with 8 other people? Like, I've written, I've recorded a couple hundred songs, and to share that information with other human beings, it's a unique experience. And to have these guys be able to, have the same amount of care about communicating that to strangers in a club it's pretty crazy, especially as isolated as people are now from each other, to have that kind of camaraderie and closeness and artistic shared information is, that to me is thrilling. But to answer your question, I think writing the song is the most cathartic and gratifying.
We're sitting right now in a house that you rent that's basically become your studio, and behind you is a piano, and then over your right shoulder you got 3 amps and 3 different tellies and an acoustic guitar, some speakers. Is this where you write songs, and do you have sort of a routine in what you do?
This is where I record songs and write them too, but I can write them anywhere. But this is where we like this. Even the technology's changed so much, we make commercial records, albums here.
Is this where you recorded the album with Shane?
Yep, and it is. And sometimes we'll go to like we've gone to Electrical Albini's place and recorded basic tracks. We used to record at the other studio in Libertyville, but this is now, it's a combination analog digital studio, and this is where I record. The album was mixed by Ed Tinley, not here at a studio in Florida, but my routine is I work on songs every day, in the morning usually.
So you get up and then you come over here?
I come over here, yeah.
And then, so what do you do? Do you
I pick up my acoustic and I turn on maybe a microphone, and either it's a song that I'm working on, and I get a notebook but a lot of times if I'm hammering out, like after a song's kind of been sketched out, and I'll stream of conscious different lines and phrasing, and
you're kind of working out the lyrics and the music at the same time.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, I'm also thinking about production. Who would is this going to be a song that we're going to want to record live with the whole band, or is this a song that I'm going to track to a click track and build drums and bass? And my band is spread out, so a lot of times I'll send songs to the guys and have them put a part on, but my favorite songs are the ones that we're in a studio and we're banging out the basic tracks too.
Will you try out songs live before you've recorded them?
I have. Sometimes that works out best, sometimes you kill the freshness of it. Yeah, I've been doing it so long, and I do it so much that I've done it every single different way.
Right. Like when you were just touring now, were you and Shane playing songs from your new album?
Yes, we were. Because, in fact, I'd say half.
Obviously that's recorded already, but people haven't heard it, though.
They haven't, but we were playing half of the songs. Shane's songs that are on the album worked their way into the set a couple years ago. Yeah, so we were playing Bad Bad Man, Who's Been Hurtin'. He's got a really great song called Precious Cargo. It's kind of like a love letter to Chicago, I think. It sounds to me like his songs to me sound like they've existed, and he has a wisdom in his voice too that I must have come from some other gene pool.
Well, is he going to have a solo career also then?
I don't know what he wants to do. He's welcome to do this with us forever. I don't think it's. I can't speak for him, but it doesn't seem like it would be as appealing for him to go out and start his own band when he's in a band that's great, that respects his songs and welcomes his, creativity. So, but I don't know, he might say, fuck you to me. But we seem, he's got he's not a needy person of anything, which is what makes him so cool to be around. Doesn't need accolades. He's self-contained.
It must be really satisfying for you, like as a father as well as a musician, just to, have that collaboration. It's
pretty great. Yeah. I mean, we've always been a pretty close family. I will say this, my wife shows up at a lot more gigs now.
There you go.
Everyone's like, she'll come out now. She's not going to miss the kids.
One of the themes of the documentary, which unfortunately is sort of a theme of like a lot of documentaries of bands that I love, is this like, why isn't this person more well known? Why aren't they more famous? With you, it's also, when you guys lose the log cabin, which was this, grand place where not only did you live, but you had like concerts and you recorded and you rehearsed and all of this stuff. It was just central. It's not even just, why aren't you famous? It's like, why isn't all this great work paying off in you just being comfortable, And I'm sure that you think about that a lot.
I do. I mean, a lot of it maybe is self-inflicted maybe. I'm not extremely uncomfortable, but, I think about it, I mean, I'm friends with people that, respect and love the music that are on the top of the heap in the whole world, musicians, but I don't begrudge anybody for that. I was almost 40 when I got my first record deal, which was, pretty old. The thing that I have control over is, I'm not running out of things to write about and perform. The band's never been better. So I look at what we have, and, it may be foolish if you're living to make money, if that's your whole goal.
Right. Or to get famous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need any of that stuff. I could use more comfort, like you said, I work. I'm working a lot. We're working a lot more than we ever have. We have unique gigs and opportunities that come up all the time. So, I didn't think they'd ever make a documentary about my band, or I didn't think I'd have a radio show on Sirius Radio. I didn't think.
Right. I was going to ask you about that too, how that came about.
Well, I didn't believe it when it happened, but this guy set up a meeting with the head of Sirius Radio. His name was Scott Greenstein. He's like the hot honcho. And I had a fan that was an attorney in New York. And he said, hey, what can I do for you? I said, I don't know. He goes, well, I set you up a meeting with the head of Sirius Radio. And I was like, okay. And so I was sitting right where we are now, thinking, what am I going to ask this guy? What's going to happen? So I had some ideas for a show. One of them was more of a theater of a mind show. I used to do this thing called Where's My Goddamn Medicine on like my own. It wasn't really a podcast. It was me spinning records with fake guests and fictional. It was silly, and I was drinking a lot then, and they were. I had a sidekick named Max Anderson, who's that guitar is his. That's a '61 Gibson. Oh, nice. That acoustic, and I borrowed that from him about 37 years ago. I've never given it back. You see a theme here. I don't think I've bought it.
That's the second guitar you've mentioned that you've sort of inherited from someone else.
Inherited by stealing it, yeah.
I thought I would come up with a nice euphemism for it.
Well, I steal them, but I tell them I'm stealing them.
Appropriate.
So we had this meeting, and in the first couple of seconds, I was going to say, well, this guy goes, here's what I want you to do. And it's not this guy, his name's Scott. He said, I'd like you to have your own show, play your own records. I want people to hear your music, and you can talk about anything you want. I was like, oh, that sounds great. So
yeah, I was going to say, who's this guy? What's his number?
Yeah. So he said, and getting back, this is crazy, that song Bolt Cutter that we started talking about.
Right.
He told me that Bruce Springsteen played him that song, and that's what got him interested in, what I was doing. Scott, if you're listening, I didn't believe you, but I didn't question it, right? I now know that's true. And so I would say a combination of, Bruce playing Scott Bolt Cutter, which was, my travel band song, and this meeting, it was serendipitous. When we were in New York last month, we did a live performance at Sirius XM, and I just heard the recordings, and couldn't believe how great they are. Like, this was like 9 a.m. after playing in Troy, New York the night before, and having a gig in Soho later that night. We recorded 7 songs, and I recorded a Springsteen cover, which I'd never done, State Trooper. And before I left, some woman came and said, you can't leave yet. You're going up to E Street Nation. And I guested. I have 5 shows coming out on E Street Nation in May, where I spin Bruce's records.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's how I think. Again, the war of attrition. I'm just here, and we're putting out music, and I'm in the clubs, and we don't stink.
Well, you've got another longtime, childhood friend, Tom Morello, who's out on tour with Mr. Springsteen right now. Did you and Tom sort of? I mean, you both grew up in Libertyville. Did you sort of collaborate musically, or were you just pals?
We weren't pals. He and my wife went to school together. And his mother is my pal, was my teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't know if you know about her. Mary Morello.
Yeah. No, yeah. I used to cover her from, when I was writing about, music for the Tribune and stuff.
So she radicalized many people here in Libertyville. She taught African studies in this all-white town. And I love her. She's 102. I mean, she's great. But Cara Dean, my wife, and Tom went to school since they were little kids together. Tom, and I'm quoting him, was a nerd, like a thespian kid, and I was more of a, not. I was
troublemaker,
getting in myself into trouble and stuff. Nothing that bad, but the reason Tom reached out to me we've been great friends for 30 years now, but he was already, a rock star, and I was Rick Rubin was listening to my music and played it for Tom, and Tom's like, I know that dude. And Tom called me, this is in the late 90s maybe, very late, and then he and I got connected then and really became really great friends. And so it wasn't that we just were in different, I'm older than he is, and, we didn't run in the same circles as little kids. I certainly knew who he was and he knew who I was. I mean, he was the only one of 2 African-American kids living in Libertyville at the time.
Right. I talked with him about that, and it's interesting that this is where he came out of.
Yeah, I mean, he had his dad is Kenyan, his mom was in Kenya working for the independence movement in '64. She got pregnant and came back, had Tom in Harlem. She's from Marseilles, Illinois, which is a coal mining town, a couple hours southwest of where we are right now. Her childhood friend was a basketball coach in Libertyville. His name's Larry Leone. Super conservative dude. He got her a job at Libertyville High School. She was a super qualified teacher. They had to ask permission for her to get an apartment in Libertyville with an African-American child.
Man.
That's crazy. But But Tom and I are really great friends. And the show that launched Springsteen's Hope and Dreams, Land of Hope and Dreams tour, which he's on right now, was the show we did in Minneapolis together at the First Avenue for Alex Preddy and Renee Good.
Right.
And that show started out with Tom and me and Tim from Rise Against. And the discussion started on a Sunday night. Tuesday, I got a text from Tom. It's going down. Bruce is coming. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And so Shane and I had met Bruce at Wrigley Field, 12 years ago. And I walked on stage and he just grabbed me and said, Ike, man, I'm a big fan. And I was just about to reintroduce him to Shane. And he goes, hey, Shane. And he hugged him and kissed him right on the side of the head.
Aw.
It was the sweetest, coolest thing. And then we sang Power to the People together. And it was...
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was pretty great.
Are you going to see him when he's in Chicago?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the show with Caro.
Going to pull you up on stage.
I'll have my harmonica ready and my dancing shoes. We'll see.
Wow, that sounds great.
It was a really emotional day, even if the boss hadn't shown up. I mean, that town was a open wound.
Absolutely. They've put up with so much shit up there.
You know, I play there every Thanksgiving Eve, 25 years in a row at the First Avenue. It's one of the longest rock and roll gigs in America, steady gigs. And I have many connections in that city, and it's heartbreaking. And since George Floyd to now, but man, those people are tough, and they should be commended, because I think hopefully they've put a halt to this. But this lunatic seems pretty wrapped up in Iran right now, so. 6 out of 10 Americans support that war, I read today.
I don't think that's true.
I read it in the New York Times, so I hope it's not true.
All right, I'll look. I don't believe that for a second.
I can't imagine.
No.
But
no, I don't think so. I mean, that's why the approval ratings keeps going down.
I hope so, but they interviewed a bunch of farmers in Iowa, right, who are just been fucked by terrorists, everything. Well, he's got to get rid of that nuclear threat. I'm like, these guys are worried about the nuclear threat in western Iowa when they can't afford fertilizer and gas and equipment. But whatever, man.
Always giving you new things to write about.
Yeah,
but,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. So I pulled up, I was kind of curious about it. So I used to write this column for the Tribune when I started. I was still a freelancer at that point in the early 90s. And it was the home front and local heroes. And so home front was like sort of the local music bulletin board. So I would say something like, Ike Reilly has left the Drovers or whatever. And then local heroes was sort of featuring a band. And so I have one with you from December 11th, 1992. And if you find this online, you can't find it using my name because the Tribune is like, I won't say updated, but the way they maintain their digital archives now, it says by contributed content. So thank you very much. I think I'm contributed content here.
CC.
But I recognize that it's me because nobody else was doing these little profiles. But December of 92, and it was Community 9. Was it called Community 9 or Community Number 9? Just Community 9.
Community Number 9.
Community Number 9.
Which was a homage to public housing in Ghana.
The way they have it here was community parentheses number and parentheses 9, like NO period. And I don't know whether that's some weird typographic
People used
thing.
to say
I bet that's not how it was in print.
I don't know.
Because we weren't online back then. So something,
I think it was community with the number sign 9.
Yeah, maybe that was it. And they just couldn't translate
but
it when they digitized
that
everything.
Band? This is Alan Waters was a drummer who went to Colgate with Lynn.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, personnel, Mike, quote, Ike Reilly.
Yeah.
So you were still Mike then.
I guess I was.
Guitar, vocals, and harmonica, Phil Carnatz, guitar, Liam Moore.
I still play with Phil.
Guitar and vocals, Aidan O'Toole, bass, Alan Waters, drums, Mars Williams, saxophone. Reilly, a former member of the Eisenhowers, later known as the Ikes, and the Drovers, assembled Community Number 9 over the last year. And then there's stuff from that. Sound, Reilly calls it high-energy, guitar-oriented rock and roll. influences, Reilly enjoys listening to bands like The Clash and The Pogues. Quote, although I don't know whether I'd necessarily call them influences, I'm more inspired by things I see or read than by specific bands or songs. Songwriting, Reilly writes all the group's material. Quote, I try not to be preachy, but I do like to address social issues such as the differences between the rich and the poor in this country and the way that immigrants and homeless people are treated.
Wow.
So that's December of 92. So we're a good 33, almost 33 and a half years later.
Same shit.
I was going to say, as much changed in the way you approach it.
Boy, that songwriting has really made an influence. It's made it worse.
But philosophy, what other bands do is irrelevant to me, says Reilly. I don't concern myself with what kind of music is or isn't popular. I don't have a real plan for business. I just do what I do.
Nothing's changed.
33 years ago, man.
God, I should have quit.
No, but you knew yourself, though.
I guess I did.
You knew what you were doing. And this is before, you got signed and you had a lot of, success and a lot of adventures after that. But it's interesting to sort of flash back on, back when Community Number 9 was your ticket back then.
Well, it's funny. I'm still friends with everybody you just mentioned in the band. Phil is my main man. He's also in the band The Secret Machines and Tripping Daisy. Right after this era, Phil moved to Dallas because Shane was born. And I stopped playing for 5 years about performing and just worked at the hotel and then wrote the songs that got me a record deal later. And then Phil moved back. But yeah, Alan Waters went to school with Lynn Bramer at Colgate, and Aidan O'Toole, Liam Moore were Irish immigrants that were part of the Irish music scene here. So
what happened to that band?
Phil moved away. Shane was born. It was just I was working at the hotel.
You were at the Park Hyatt. You were like the doorman, right?
I was the doorman for almost 14 years
in downtown Chicago, high-end hotel right on Michigan, or just off of Michigan Avenue.
Chicago and Rush.
Yeah,
great job for great money. Great job for a guy with ADHD, ADD, or whatever. Because there's action, constant action. I had 7 parking lot spots and checking in people and getting cabs, and it was really a great job. And again, you could really see the class system in America.
I was going to say, when you're checking in that many people, you're definitely taking mental notes or physical notes on being a songwriter.
Yeah, and just I dealt with the cops. I had cops, restaurant people, bar people, the people at the hotel, from the housekeeping staff to management. We had, Chinese immigrants, a lot of them working as housekeepers. There were Central American people in the kitchen, a lot of Mexican people, African Americans from the South Side. I mean, I remember working with a guy named Trevor Gadsden. He was younger than me. He was a boxer. African American guy from the South Side. I was the first white person he really ever spoke to, and because the city was and still is really segregated, geographically. And I just we became good friends. He was leaning towards the fruit of Islam at the time. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but my point was I didn't realize how segregated the city was. Until the, late 80s when as a kid in Libertyville, I just thought the whole world was black and white. But that job informed me in every single way. I was involved in the union there, the Local 1. I never hated going to work.
You even met a future president of the United States. Got stiffed by him.
I did. Well, I met Nixon, Clinton.
Oh.
And I met the Dalai Lama, Keith Richards, Phyllis Diller, Pat Summerall. I mean, I met a lot of famous people, but I was stiffed by Trump. And it was just he and I in a hotel room. I used to tell this long story in the shows, which, you know the story. But
I do, but some of our listeners may not. So
all right. Well, I was working on a Sunday night. I'd sent the bellman home, and I was alone. So it was kind of slow. So when you send the bellman home, you're working outside. But then if you get a guest, you bring them all the way up. You have somebody cover the front door while you take them up. Trump rolls up with Ivana. He's staying in the I think it was called the Presidential Suite at the time. And at the time, it was the most expensive hotel room in Chicago. It was $2,500 a night. And he was comped by Jay Pritzker.
Wow. And this is what, like 80s, 90s?
90.
Yeah, 90 probably, because that's when you were around.
Let me think. It had to be between 90 and 90 and 95, maybe. When did Home Alone come out?
92,
It was after Home Alone, I think. So I took him up to the Presidential Suite, and he stiffed me.
So you took him up to the suite. You're like showing him everything.
Showed him everything, because I'm a very service-oriented doorman, but hungry. Like, I'm not going to get beat, by not, I'm making my living that way. So he stiffed me, and I really milked it. I was showing him everything I could show him. I was always off on Monday. I came back on Tuesday, and somebody said that Mrs. Trump's belt, she had a pantsuit, and the belt was stolen, And I was like, I didn't steal any belt. And, my coworkers, I had never stolen anything from the hotel. A couple weeks later, I was playing at Shuba's, and I like to glorify how many people weren't there. It was like 10 bellmen and 2 front desk clerks. All my friends were at a show on a weeknight. And I did some rock move where I raised my fist up and my sleeve came down. And my coworker, Sweet Lou, who I had told that I had never stolen Mrs. Trump's belt, as my sleeve came down, I had made a little bracelet out of Mrs. Trump's belt. So he's like, you did steal it.
And you were like Employee of the Year one year, too, I read.
Yes, I was, Mark. I was.
I just remember when you were named Employee of the Year, we were all so happy for you. That was one of those things that turned up when I was like reading. I'm just like, oh, Park Hyatt Employee of the Year. I'm sure there was a lot of competition for that.
It was I got $2,500 and a trip anywhere I wanted.
Whoa.
And Kara and I went to San Francisco and then to Hawaii.
And they put you up in the Park Hyatt in those?
Well, we got 12 free rooms a year anyway.
Oh, man.
But my scam was good because Hyatt is based in Chicago, and Jay Pritzker, who is JB's uncle, was the patriarch and leader of the Pritzker clan. They came to the hotel all the time, and he had a executive assistant named Lana Baumeister, and I parked her car all the time and was very close with her. So I never went through human resources for rooms. I went through her. So I'm like, hey, Lana, my wife and I are going here, going here. She goes, okay, I'll call. So when we would check into hotels, while I'm a doorman, it would say reservation per Jay Pritzker. They had no idea who I was. They thought, oh, this guy he's either with the Pritzkers or a friend of the Pritzkers. We'd get upgraded to the greatest stuff.
Nice.
And so when I won that trip, we went to Hawaii, but a man died on the plane between San Francisco and Hawaii, and it kind of ruined our trip. I felt bad. It was really scary. And it was the first time we had left our kids, and we're like, we want to go home.
Man.
It was, and the plane didn't turn around. We were.
Did he have like a heart attack or something?
A heart attack.
And they were like calling for like doctor. Is there a doctor on board and all that stuff?
Board, and he called out. He was like in his 50s. I was in my 30s. He was calling out for his mom. It was.
Man.
It was really. It was sad.
This was such a happy story until that point.
Well, we started with.
I'm like, oh, you're getting treated like royalty. They think you're a Pritzker. You're Employee of the Year, and now you got some. Oh. Were you still living in Libertyville and commuting downtown, or did you live in the city at that time?
We lived in the city for part of that time, and then I lived in Libertyville, and I'd commute. But I worked the second shift. I would drive my rock and roll van to the Moody Bible School on Wells. I think it was on Wells, is that? And I would pull my bicycle out of my truck and ride it to the Park Hyatt.
Wow. Libertyville, what keeps you here, and how has that sort of informed all your art, your music?
Well, it's a battle, I was always leaving here. I'm like, I got to get out of here. And then, my family, it's been a great place. My wife grew up here. Her parents are still here. Her brother's here. My mother's 99. She still lives in the house I grew up in, a couple blocks from me.
Yeah.
I can't really leave her. Now my daughter and her kids are here. So I'm not going anywhere now, and everything that I could hate about the town I can overlook because of the conveniences and beauty of some friendships I have. And I don't hate the town at all. I love the town. It's great, but it's a little it's a little right-wingy for me, but still I see people that I love. There's characters all around town, and I'm not so sure it's informed my songwriting that much, other than just the hypocrisy that you could see anywhere, or the obvious irony that you can see anywhere in America, I guess. So the house I lived in for 20 years out on the river at the edge of town, that was really a great escape for me, because it didn't seem like anywhere. It just seemed like a timeless place that was pretty idyllic for my kids. We were on 3 acres on the outside of town. It was not a fancy place. It was a rustic place. My youngest son, Mick, I'm pretty sure didn't wear shoes till he was about 12. Mm-hmm. So there was and it was a very communal place. So, it is what it is. I don't see myself leaving here. But I do get to travel a lot. And I spent 14 years on the corner of Chicago and Rush, which that informed me more than anything ever has, I would say.
Interesting. And this is home.
It is, yeah. I mean, if you and I were to walk, we couldn't walk for 2 minutes without seeing somebody I know. Just not a chance. I mean, because now my umbrella reaches up to people that are almost 100, down to, I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and I know her peers. It's crazy. Sometimes I'm with both those ladies at the same time. They're 97 years apart. And, my granddaughter and my mom. And my grandkids have 3 great living great-grandmothers in town, which is pretty crazy.
Wow. Well, that's cool. You're like the mayor of Libertyville. Or it could be.
I don't think so.
You're the unofficial walking down the street. Hey, he's the mayor of Libertyville, without actually having to run Libertyville.
Yeah, it only pays $4,000 a year. Morello wanted me to run. He was going to finance my campaign.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, we were going to.
See, I was joking, but
we were going to have girls in camouflage bikinis with AK-47s on our float. But that was just that was just spitballing campaign promise. My campaign promise is, when it started, I was still drinking. It was going to be bars open till 5 a.m. I'll tell you one bit of hypocrisy about this town. There's liquor stores. They just turned down a dispensary where the abandoned Baker Square is. It looks like shit. But they think that brings a bad element to Libertyville.
There you go.
It's just unbelievable.
You and Morello should form a secret band, like the Statues of Libertyville. I don't know what it would be, but it would be kind of your, and people would be like, wait, is that those guys?
Well, we have a secret band I play with Pete. We're called the Lake County Rifles, which was a semi-pro football team in the 60s out of Lake County.
Yeah, you wouldn't call it that now, but
you can't call it, but we'll see what we do.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. This has been great.
It's great
catching up with you. No, that's how I like it. So 33 and a half years after we did you were a local hero in the Tribune with me. So
I'm so pleased that those quotes that you captured were my same belief system, and that I wasn't like back then saying, I want a bunch of money,
There were a bunch of, it was interesting because there were a lot of people, because I had one of those a week, and some of them were like, what's your goals? Like, to get signed, to get signed to a major label, and to get this and that. And it was always like to get stuff, but you were not saying that. You and the blues guys, you were more about, we're just trying to be true to ourselves.
Well, I wish I wanted a little more.
That's it for episode 228 of Caropop. Thanks so much to Ike Reilly for hosting us at his Libertyville house and sharing such colorful stories about his music and career. Blind and Surrounded, Ike Reilly's new album featuring Shane Reilly, comes out June 12th. Go to IkeReilly.com for more information about the music and where to order it. You also can find upcoming tour dates on the site for Ike and Shane Reilly, starting in Atlanta at Terminal West on June 17th and continuing through cities in Tennessee, South Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Iowa, plus Indianapolis, Bloomington, Illinois, and Madison, Wisconsin. The documentary, Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, executive produced by and featuring Tom Morello, is available on various streaming services. Go to don'tturnyourbaconfridaynight.com. The monthly Sirius XM show Ike Reilly's Lies and Apologies appears on the Spectrum channel and is available on the Sirius XM app. Reilly also recently hosted Be the Boss on Bruce Springsteen's E Street Radio, and you can find that through Sirius XM as well. Finally, a courtesy note. If a worker at a nice hotel escorts you up to your suite and takes you through all your amenities, give a nice tip. Caropop is produced by Chris Wake, who puts a little love into everything he does. Thanks to all who support Caropop. If you'd like to throw something into the Caropop kitty, we'd be much appreciative, and I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Please go to caropop.com. Thanks so much for listening and being here. I'm Mark Caro. Please follow Caropop on the so-called socials at Caropopcast. You can follow me as well at Mark Caro at MarkCaro. Please share this episode, subscribe here and on YouTube, tell your friends, and return next week for another Caropop conversation. Thanks.